All right, let's dive in. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on something that's absolutely central to modern democracy, the political party. You see them on the news all the time, but what are they really? And how in the world do they actually work? Let's get into it.
I mean, seriously, have you ever watched a debate and just thought, this is basically a sport? You've got rival teams, different colors, everyone fighting for that big win. And you know what? In some ways, that's not a bad analogy. But the reality, as you can imagine, is a little more complicated than that.
So, let's start at square one. What exactly is a political party? Before we can really understand the game, we've got to know who the players are.
Okay, so at its core, a party isn't just a random collection of people. The key word here is organized. It's a group bound together by shared ideas, or what you might call common thinking on the big issues. And their number one goal? It's pretty simple. Get their own people elected into positions of power so they can turn those shared ideas into actual policy.
And hey, this isn't some newfangled idea. Check out this classic definition from the political scientist Lord Bryce. He nails two really crucial points. First, membership is voluntary. Nobody forces you to join. And second, it's a constant struggle to get power. It's an active, ongoing, never-ending competition.
So you might be wondering, if these are just voluntary groups of people who probably disagree on a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, how do they actually stick together and act like a single team? Well, it turns out every party has a kind of unwritten rulebook that keeps them in the game.
It really boils down to three main pillars holding the whole thing up. First, you've got unity. A disorganized, chaotic group is never going to get anything done. Second, there's discipline. Members are absolutely expected to toe the party line on big votes. And believe me, there can be real consequences if they don't. And finally, cooperation. Even when there are arguments internally, members have to find a way to work together for the greater goal. Without these three things, a party just falls apart.
Okay, so now we know what a party is. But what does it actually do? I mean, why are they such a critical piece of the puzzle in modern politics?
Well, they juggle a bunch of massive jobs. The most obvious one is, of course, contesting elections. But they also work to shape public opinion, they're the ones who create policies, and, naturally, the winner gets to form the government. But here's something just as important. The parties that lose form the opposition. And a strong opposition is absolutely essential for keeping the government in check.
Parties don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're usually born from the major fault lines in a society. Sometimes it's about protecting economic interests or representing a specific religious identity. Other times they grow out of these deep ideological divides, like the classic battle between socialism and capitalism. And sometimes they emerge from moments of huge national crisis, which can lead to some really dangerous places, as we saw with the rise of the fascist and Nazi parties after World War I.
Now, it's really important to remember that not every country plays this game the same way. The rules are totally different depending on where you are in the world. So let's take a quick trip around the globe.
You can pretty much lump all party systems into three main buckets. First, you have one-party systems, like in China, where just one party holds all the power. Then you've got two-party systems, dominated by a couple of major players, like we see in the US and the UK. And finally, you have multi-party systems, like in India, where a whole bunch of parties are competing, and they often have to team up in coalitions to govern.
And this leads to a really interesting trade-off. A two-party system, it tends to create more stable governments and a really clear, strong opposition. The big downside? It definitely limits voter choice, and a lot of smaller voices can get drowned out. On the flip side, multi-party systems do a much better job of representing everyone in a diverse country, and voters get way more choices. But they can lead to shaky, unstable coalition governments and a weak, divided opposition. So as you can see, there's no perfect answer here.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. With all of their strengths and all of their flaws, are political parties ultimately a good thing or a bad thing for a society? Let's take a quick look at both sides of the coin. Okay, on the pros side, parties are actually super important for political education. They help break down complicated issues for voters, they provide the structure you need for a stable government, they organize that all-important opposition we talked about, and in an ideal world, they're supposed to bring all these competing interests together for the good of the whole nation.
But let's be real. There's a pretty big dark side. Parties can create this blind loyalty where it's my team, right or wrong. The leadership can become totally autocratic and just crush any disagreement. Candidate nominations can end up being about who you know, not what you know. Nepotism. And, as we're all too aware, the whole system can become a breeding ground for political corruption.
So here's the massive paradox we're left with. Yes, parties can be flawed. They can be divisive. They can even be corrupt. Sometimes it feels like they're tearing us apart. And yet, They provide the very structure, the stability, and the choice that modern democracies seems to depend on. So that leaves us with a really tough question to think about. Could democracy as we know it even survive